Hey there guys, welcome back to the Trailhead channel. So I've been riding my Bronson for about 800 miles now, and I think it's about time to do a RockShox service. So in this video, I'm going to show you how to do my 50-hour service on a RockShox Super Deluxe. So that means changing the seals and the oils. But before we do that, make sure you're subscribed to the channel. Please click that subscribe button. And also that bell button to be notified whenever my videos go live. So let's get started. So here are the items that you need to do the service. The RockShox 50-hour service kit, and I'll leave a link to the exact item in the description below. Allen keys, a torque wrench, a small pick, a valve core removal tool, shock pump, some kind of strap wrench, lint-free shop towel, isopropyl alcohol, and the optional items are you can use a 13mm crow foot to tighten the air can to spec. Don't forget to also use Loctite on the shock bolts when you're reinstalling the shock to your bike. I'd also highly recommend using a bench vise to make things a lot easier to remove and install the air can. So first, remove your shock from the frame. In this case, I needed a 6mm Allen key for both bolts. Be careful not to lose the bearing covers or any small parts. It's also a good time to check if the bearings are still smooth and inspect the shock if there's any obvious damage. We can then take the air out slowly, and also using a valve core removal tool, you can just take out the valve core to make sure there's no more air remaining and just reinstall it afterwards. And start cleaning the outside using the isopropyl alcohol. Take out the sag indicator O-ring. Make sure you set the rebound to open or fastest, and if there's a compression dial, set it all the way to the minus side or open side. So if you have a bench vise, you can clamp the shock so it's easier to work with, using a strap wrench to loosen up the air can. Once it's loose, you can then just unscrew it using your hand. When it pops out a bit, you can slowly pull the air can out of the body. But before you do that, if you have a bottom bearing mount, you can just remove that using a 3mm Allen key. On the Super Deluxe, we use tokens that goes inside the head of the shock. In this particular shock, it came in stock with 3 tokens. I think you can use a total of 4 tokens to make it more progressive. If you need to install or take out tokens, just slide out the O-ring and the metal cover and use a pick to take the tokens out. You can also inspect the O-ring for any cracks or damage. This little O-ring prevents shock damage whenever you bottom out. So when you bottom out a lot, this takes a lot of beating. Now on to the air can. Inspect the can inside and out for any scratches or damages. Use a pick to remove the outer seal and the white plastic backup ring. Be careful not to scratch the air can here. So onto the inner seal. This can be tricky to remove since you need a pick, and you got to be very careful not to damage the air can. Make sure the pick just hooks the rubber seal. Finally, you can remove the thin O-ring on the outside of the air can. Set aside the old seals so you can remember how to install the new ones. Clean the air can with alcohol, and it's time to install the new seals. Use some seal grease provided in the kit for the O-rings and the seals before you install them. I just went the reverse order of how I removed them. Make sure that the white plastic backup ring sits on top of the inner rubber seal. And finally, install the new wiper seal. Make sure to add more grease around the seals. Going back to the shock body, you can remove the spring. Inspect the damper for any scratches or damage. You have to replace 3 parts here. A black rubber seal in between 2 white plastic backup rings. You can see here that one of the white rings is thicker than the other. That thicker ring should be closest to the head of the shock or to where the rebound dial is. After cleaning the shock thoroughly with isopropyl alcohol, you can now replace the rubber seal, sandwiched by 2 white plastic rings. Again, the thicker ring closest to the head of the shock. Apply liberal amounts of seal grease. Clean the spring and reinsert it into the body. Now it's time to reinstall the air can. But before that, take the shock oil included in the kit and squirt half of it into the air can. Before pushing all the way, make sure you pour the remaining oil into the air can. It helps to have the shock into the vise, then slowly insert the air can into the shock body. Okay, so this part is a little tricky. You need to push the air can in until it meets the thread so you can screw it tight. You will need to push in hard and give it a sustained pressure. You'll feel that the air can will slowly slide into the threads. Once you're in, you just have to thread it high and tight for now. So to finish up on the air can, use a strap wrench to keep it from moving and use a torque wrench to tighten it up to 4.5 Newton meters. In this case though, I just went a little past hand tight and it's good to go. Don't forget to install the red sag indicator O-ring. Then reinstall the bearing if you need to. Tighten the bolts to 6 Newton meters. Finally, reinstall the shock into the frame. Make sure to tighten the bolt to spec using a torque wrench and use Loctites on those shock bolts. Don't forget to cycle the shock first. Pump around 50% of your target PSI and give it a couple of cycles before you pump it up to target PSI. Adjust the rebound dial and the compression dial to your previous settings and you're good to go. So I hope this video helped you guys perform your own service. It's pretty simple and easy as long as you have the right tools, of course. Thank you for watching and I appreciate all the support. If you have any questions, please leave a comment below or just say hi, and I'll see you guys in the next video.